Okay, everybody, welcome to another Ink and Paint Club review here on the Ink and Paint Club channel. My name is JD, and with me, as always, is my beautiful, lovely, other positive adjectives, Kyle.
You could have just said lovely ginger. I would have accepted that.
I'm trying not to call you a ginger as much. I feel it's a derogatory term to your people.
Well, it is, but, I mean, I hear it every day at work, so... It's whatever.
Well, you don't need to hear it from me then. You don't need to come home to that.
Anyways, right. I'm Kyle.
Yeah.
I'm having ice cream right now.
I wish I had ice cream.
I'm sorry.
But because then we could celebrate. Because, guys, Toonami is 20 years old now.
It's old.
I mean,
it's old enough to drive.
It's old enough to drive, but not old enough to drink.
Or buy cigarettes in the state of California.
I don't know what the cigarette limit is in our state. Huh. Weird. But yeah, anyway, so I kind of realized this the other day, before they started playing commercials about it on TV. Yeah, Toonami is officially 20 years old, which makes me feel super old.
See, everybody says shit like that, and I never feel old. It's just like, that came out in middle school. I was still a kid.
Middle school? What are you talking about? It was 96.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm thinking of Adult Swim then.
Yeah, Adult Swim came out, like, 2000-ish.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah. So, I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool that, like, something like it's died and came back, and now it's been around for 20 years. You know, a good chunk of both of our lives. Kyle, you told me you weren't, like, a huge fan of Toonami growing up, were you?
No, I knew a lot of weeb kids, and it really turned me off, so I don't watch a lot of anime. As far as anime went, it was like Pokemon.
Yeah,
but
I feel that.
I remember, I think the only thing I watched on Toonami was fucking Beast Wars.
Oh god, I forgot they had Beast Wars.
That was the only thing I remember.
That might have been when Moltar was still the host.
Probably.
Back in that day when like they had Reboot and Real Adventures of Johnny Quest.
Yeah, both of those are pretty great. I think.
Yeah, I need to rewatch Reboot. I tried a while back, but yeah, I actually watched Toonami like a lot as a kid. I didn't watch the stuff with Moltar. I watched it sometime after they switched over to Tom as the host. And I watched it more or less up until the end. When they moved to Saturday nights in the mid-2000s, I kind of was like, I check in every now and then, but it wasn't like an everyday thing. Because, you know, you'd come home after school and it was on at like 4 or 5, so it's like, you know, it's just what you watch in the evening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, it had fucking Dragon Ball and
I do remember my brother watching the whole Cell and Boo saga on there.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's always funny because Mel would watch Sailor Moon on there and she doesn't understand why people like Dragon Ball, for the same reason I don't understand why people like Sailor Moon.
Damn.
Because I don't know, it's just like it was like that Sailor Moon was the girl option on Toonami, where Dragon Ball was the guy option on Toonami. So it's like that's what we grew up watching. But yeah, I watched like pretty much the entirety of Dragon Ball Z and on there, and
but they had,
you know, when they
had lesbian cousins.
Yeah. They did. They censored it out, but you know, I think that even made it worse. I remember I got really into Tenchi Muo for a while when that was on Toonami, and I thought it was, I don't know. I'm not really sure why I got into that show, but I remember really enjoying it. Yeah, they had a lot of really cool stuff on there, and I like the atmosphere that they built around it. It was just like this robot guy on a spaceship beaming anime to Earth.
Oh yeah, I remember. Was Outlaw Star in there, or was that an Adult Swim thing?
Yeah, I think they put Outlaw Star on regular Toonami, and then when they did like the midnight runs, which on the weekends, I think they would unair the uncensored version.
Okay, I do remember watching Outlaw Star in there, but like I said, I'm not a big fan of anime.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I've been looking back on Toonami stuff the last couple months. I'm not entirely sure why, but I don't know. It's been kind of interesting looking back and like seeing like the weird impact it had on anime culture.
Well, that was like the only way people could watch anime at that time.
Yeah.
Because I think Spike had a block too, but that was like way later on.
Oh yeah, like if you wanted to watch anime, you had to watch Toonami, or you had to get like bootleg VHSs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I honestly think that it had Toonami not been around, anime probably wouldn't have been as mainstream as it is now.
That's true.
Because yeah, like they brought over these we consider classic anime shows now, and they kind of packaged it in a kind of a cool way. Had a really cool host. I like the kind of drum and bass electronic music they would put in with it.
The first,
I don't know, it was
the first Tom reminds me so much of Buck Bumble.
Kind of does actually. Yeah. Yeah, we'll get into it here in a minute. But I think I came in the tail, or maybe like midway through Tom 1, and yeah, I can...
Even the color scheme, Jesus.
I don't know what the timeline between creating Tom and when Buck Bumble came out, so who knows? Maybe one influenced the other, but...
It says 1998 came out, so...
Oh, jeez. So maybe, I don't know.
Anyway,
so to celebrate Toonami's 20th anniversary, we decided we were going to sit down and watch all 3 of the Intruder events that they have done over the years. It's kind of weird because we usually review movies, or that one time we reviewed an episode of a TV show. So this isn't really either of them. There was like little shorts they would play in between other shows to form like a story, but
do you remember if it was played all in one go, or was it like through the course of months? Like how did it work?
I remember I didn't watch Intruder 2 or 3 because those are more recent, like with the last two years or so. I do kind of remember the first one. I don't think they ever played it all in one go on TV, but I do remember when it came out, because they made a huge deal about it. But yeah, you'd have to watch the block every day because they would play it in between the regular other episodes of the other shows. And yeah, for like 2 weeks there was just this event that you'd have to tune in every day to see what was going on.
Oh yeah. We can't talk about Toonami without saying Daft Punk or Gorillaz was played on it.
Oh yeah, they did a midnight run special edition where they just played music videos, and I think that's where a lot of people learned what Daft Punk and Gorillaz were.
Yep.
That isn't where I learned about it. I think I don't know how I learned about Daft Punk. Oh wait, no, I do know. I learned about Daft Punk because Nickelodeon played one of the songs off like one of those music videos on their channel for whatever reason.
What the fuck?
I don't know. And this is so weird. The reason I found out what the Gorillaz were because they put Feel Good Inc. on one of those Now That's What I Call Music things, and I saw a commercial for it, like one of those like, here, call this number and buy the CD or whatever. And one of the music videos had one of the clips to the music video. I was like, that looks rad. What is that? And I looked it up, and I'm like, holy shit, this is cool.
I remember seeing what was it? I saw Clint Eastwood on there, I think.
Yeah, that's the one. I think it's the one they played. So yeah, it was cool.
Man, what a time that was. We still had like a Virgin Megastore in the mall and shit.
Jesus. Oh, the late 90s, early 2000s. What a time to be alive.
I was about to say that, yeah.
But speaking of the new millennium, we'll just get into
what
our
we're speaking about.
right. We'll get right into our reviews finally. So we're gonna start with the first Intruder event. So basically, the first Intruder event came out in the year 2000, and was basically Toonami's. I think it was their way of, they wanted to kind of expand on the whole mythos with Tom, and this whole thing they were trying to build on, because basically so far up until they did this event, it was just like Tom would make a few quips in between episodes. They did game reviews every now and then, but there wasn't much of a plot. So when they did this, that was a way to kind of expand the story for him.
I feel it was like they fucking hated his first design and wanted to give him an upgrade. That's what it feels like.
I feel it's like they wanted to upgrade it, and they just needed an excuse to do it. So basically, this first event is pretty simple. It's Tom and Sarah are driving the Absolution out in space, and this goo monster just gets in, and it takes over and kills Tom, and then they have to explode their engine, so it jettisons the goo man off into space. That's like the Cliff Notes version of that.
Yeah. They did. It did headbutt him out into space, though, and that was funny.
They did. Yeah, it was. So going back and watching this probably for the first time since I was like 8 or 9, whatever. I will say this has not aged well.
It looks better than Reboot. I gotta say.
Yeah, I'll give it that much. I mean, for the time, it looked pretty good. I don't know if you had the same problem. The one problem I had with this is I felt like the sound. It's weird because it's like the first time I had this complaint about anything. Is I felt like the sound mixing was really off in bits, where like the music was playing too loud and you could not hear the characters talking. I especially noticed it like at the beginning where Tom and Sarah are in the control room, and they're like talking about like what's the like what broke into the ship and stuff, and like the music is like way too loud to hear what they're talking about.
It was their first go, man.
Oh yeah, that, I mean, I don't want it to sound like I'm shitting on this, because like I think for a first attempt, like their first attempt at building a story for these characters, I think it's it works pretty well.
I did like I liked in the second one where it started and he's like talking about the Fox Cabbage boat. I like that part because she's like explaining it to him. They're having this deep conversation of some stupid fucking brain teaser. I like that little thing.
Yeah, a lot of these just open with them talking about some non sequitur that you have no idea what they're talking about. Like I don't even know, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Kyle, what did you think about this first one? Like as someone who didn't really watch Toonami, like just coming as an outsider, what did you think?
I mean, it was fine. I liked it enough. To me, it was, I don't know. It's one of those things where it kind of feels a little barren. It's just a spaceship in space, people. That's kind of what you're going off of. I did like going farther into it where they're on a planet. That seemed a little more interesting than being out in fucking space. But as far as the first one goes, animation's not that bad. It's not as bad as like watching Reboot or Beast Wars now, because those have aged like milk. But I think it works because he didn't have a fucking face. So I don't know. It looked way better, is what I'm trying to say, as far as like no facial expressions or whatever. But
sure.
As far as the story goes, it was fine. It served its purpose.
Yeah.
I appreciate what they did.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like, it's, in retrospect, it's, you know, it's okay. You know, it's a nice piece of history. And after I watched it, I kind of looked up some kind of supplementary material, and I forgot that at the end where they blew off one of the engines because the intruder, as it were, was in there, so they blast off the engine and just sent it jetting off into space. I forgot there was an event with the event where you could either call in or go online and suggest which new engine the ship was gonna get.
I did catch that, because I didn't know. I didn't read about it at all, but he's like, the people have spoken. Let's get this one. And I was like, oh, that's what they must have done.
Yeah, because the one we watched, it was just like someone had strung them all together. But yeah, I looked it up later, and there's a commercial where it says like, hey, these are the 3 engines we're thinking about. Like, tell us which one you want. And I think I was watching even more like old commercials for Toonami, and I kind of noticed that they were really big on like getting fan feedback. Because I looked up an old commercial from when Moltar was still the host, and they're basically saying like, hey, do you like Toonami, or is this like a pile of garbage? Like, call us or write us a letter and tell us what you think, you know, is good, what's working, what's not, what you guys want to see, that kind of stuff. And something that's more or less pre-internet days, that's kind of cool that they would like be so inclined to ask the fan base what they think is, you know, working.
I just remember they did a huge contest. I was pissed off because that was like the first thing I ever participated in as a kid. They were giving away the entire line of Beast War toys, and they were like, call this number. It was like the disappointment of not ever getting through.
Yeah, they had a lot of giveaways back in the day, and I never won a single one.
They don't do shit like that now, or I don't see much like that anymore.
They just had their 20th anniversary over the weekend, and you can go on their website right now where you can basically sign up for an entry into their raffle, and they're basically raffling off like new t-shirts, comic books. They made an action figure of Tom that they're raffling off.
That's kind of cool.
And they said that they said they're gonna raffle off like old Toonami merchandise too, so who knows what that'll be. But I put my name in just for shits.
Just like the time I won a Nickelodeon guitar.
I still want that. I want it so bad. It's so stupid. Like, it's a friggin' Kappa Mikey guitar.
Yeah.
I can't even play the guitar.
So then they did a second event.
Well, what I wanted to say before we got off there, I do like the ending of this the first Intruder event, because I like that it ushered in the new design of Tom, and Tom 2 is personally my favorite design. Because it got away from that tiny, the tiny fat design of the first one, but it wasn't like the third one where he was basically like this beefed up, muscle looking dude.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, not Tom 4, which we've all agreed is the worst ever. Tom 4 is awful. Yeah, I started watching a little, like I said, I watched mostly somewhere in the middle of Tom 1's era, but I really didn't start getting into Toonami until, you know, Tom 2 took over, so that's kind of where I identify most of my memories from Toonami with. So, Toonami left for a while. It got canceled in 2008. You know, it had a big send off. It was very emotional for some people. I don't know. I guess for some people. I watched the last broadcast. I didn't realize it was ending, and they just aired like this little send off where Tom was basically saying, "Hey, we're being canceled, and we're, you know, see ya."
Sorry guys, we're canceled for Magoozy.
I don't know. I think Magoozy was canceled before Toonami was.
Oh, I don't fucking remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember I didn't, but I just didn't remember. I remember I didn't care for Magoozy because it's like, it was all the French anime.
Yeah.
Because it was like Totally Spies and Code Lyoko and some other stuff.
Well, I told you, remember when I went to France or Europe around the time, they were playing those stupid bumpers in French.
Mm-hmm.
So that had to have been a stupid, like, French thing. I don't fucking know.
It had to be. The dog.
Like clockwork.
So yeah. So Toonami ended for a while. And then, as an April Fool's joke, they came back in 2012 on Adult Swim, and they're like, "Hey, we're taking over Adult Swim for one night for the April Fool's joke," and they, you know, played a bunch of classic, you know, Toonami staples like Gundam Wing and DBZ and Tenchi Muyo and Yu Yu Hakusho and all that stuff. So that was kind of cool. And then basically they put Adult Swim said, "Hey, make this hashtag trending and tell us that you want Toonami back." And, you know, they got enough response that, you know, a couple months later they just said, "Hey, we're bringing Toonami back." And it's been pretty much the Saturday night thing for Adult Swim for like the last 4 years. So that was cool.
That was pretty cool of them.
Yeah,
I like
it was kind of
like,
cool.
Well, I like how they know that their fan base is older now, and then they're just appealing to that demographic since they knew they grew up. Now they're...
Yeah, and I honestly think that's kind of what they know what like the demographic for Adult Swim is, which is mostly like 18 to 35 people. And, you know, those age of people now are people who watch Toonami as kids. So I think that was definitely smart to bring it back, you know, as an Adult Swim block. And they can play, you know, a little more edgier anime than they did back in the day. I mean, they still aired Dragon Ball and stuff.
And they can make Tom say ass now.
Yeah, Tom can swear now. It's a little off-putting at first, but you kind of get used to it. So shit, where'd it go? Okay. So about 2 years into it, back in 2015? When was this? I think it was 2015 when it came out. They decided they'd been on long enough, and they decided they wanted to do a sequel to The Intruder. And so this one picks up way into the Tom timeline, I guess, because we're on Tom 5 now. And they're driving around the new Absolution out in space. And they kind of just happen on this, you know, deserted spaceship, and turns out the blob from the first event is hiding in there, and he kind of jacks the Absolution again, and, you know, tries to kill Tom, and Tom loses his arm.
Yeah.
Again, this was kind of used as an excuse to transition, not so much Tom this time, but more of the scenery. But what I do like about the second Intruder event, it's mostly the blob character, which is weird because the last one, it was just like, this blob, it doesn't talk, it doesn't do, you know, have any motivation for what it's doing, and, you know, honestly, it still doesn't. It talks now, and it says it just wants to make Tom suffer, and it doesn't really say why it wants to.
Exactly.
It's just cause.
But it was half half the original one, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah, I'd never seen these events prior to when we watched this. I watched this for the show. Yeah, and so like the blob is walking around. It's like, bipedal now. But like in the blob, it's got like pieces from Tom 1, and I looked it up, and the voice of the blob is actually the first voice of Tom, which I thought was kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah, they got the original Tom voice actor back for that.
Oh.
Yeah, because
I know Steve Bloom does them or something.
Yeah. Because Steve Bloom voiced Tom 2 and on, and an actor named Sonny Strait was the original voice of Tom for Tom 1. So that was kind of cool that just for the sake of continuity, they brought him back for that. And I think that's kind of a cool idea because, you see in the first one, the blob absorbs Tom 1 before his consciousness is transferred into Tom 2. And you see him kind of like dissolve into the blob. So it's kind of cool that like he's got all those pieces attached to him.
I liked it.
Yeah. The animation's definitely stepped up for this one. I think this one actually looked really nice. You and I were talking about this before the show, but I did like there's a lot of banter between the blob and Tom, and I like the offhand comment they make about how the blob actually hunted down and killed Tom 4.
Fuck that guy. But yeah, but we were saying they made comic books. I don't even know where the fuck they were available. Were they just online? Were they printed?
I think they were. I think they were on their website.
Oh, because they were like on the Wikipedia. Well, this is the birth of the third one, and it's like, what? So
yeah,
the third comics to.
I think you had to because the third one kind of showed up just kind of unannounced unless you read that. They didn't have an event like transferring between 2 and 3.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, I think this one's kind of cool just because it kind of carries the continuity from that old one. Like, Intruder 2 only really makes sense if you had watched the original one back in the day. And the audience that watches Toonami now, which is people our age who grew up on it, like of course they would remember that. So I don't know, it's kind of cool that they decided they were going to continue that.
I did like how he was like, you think sending me off into space was gonna kill me? And I was like, well yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, it's just gonna get rid of him, not really kill him.
Well, I think Tom 1 was kind of
he was a fat lazy jerk.
Yeah, okay, so I don't know if you noticed this as well. I kind of like watching these old, like the newer events. Tom kind of goes between being like this really chill, relaxed guy and being really nice to Sarah, the AI that he's with. And then sometimes he's like kind of an ass to her.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember him being so quippy with her back in the day. Maybe he was. But it's weird watching like the new Tom and he's like kind of a dick sometimes.
I did like in the third one he's like, you're a fucking pixie? How is this gonna help?
Oh yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah. But and this also kind of introduced me to, I've only watched Toonami off and on since it came back because I don't have cable. But this kind of got me used to the new Tom's design, which is kind of a medium between 2 and 3. He's not like, as kind of overly designed as 2 was and kind of short, but he's not tall and beefy like 3 is.
Mr. Beefy.
Yeah, so while I still say that 2 is my favorite design, I really like, Tom 5 because I think he's kind of like a nice medium between what I think most people consider, the designs they grew up with. So yeah, I thought this was a nice event for them, and I'm glad they're continuing the continuity from the way back.
And his ship exploded.
His ship exploded. Oh yeah. So that's what I wanted to get onto a second ago. The Intruder 2 kind of was, like I said, it was kind of a transition between scenery, because they're on the Absolution. The Absolution blows up because Tom blows it up with the blob on it. So hopefully it's dead this time. And he crashes on this planet moon. I don't know if they said what it is or if it matters. It's this big desert planet. And he starts broadcasting out of this old bunker that just happens to be there. And that's where he basically camps out for the next year.
Well, I like that because it reminded me of the original Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. The whole like terrible CG planet or whatever, and then it had like the little building he was doing his show in. That's what it reminded me of, and I like that.
Yeah, that is kind of similar. So yeah, a year later, they do another Intruder event, Intruder 3. This one has nothing to do with the Blob, weirdly enough. And again, is used as a transition piece between, their new look. So basically what this one is Tom and Sarah on the planet, the desert planet from last event. All the bumpers and stuff, that's been what it's been for the last year. And they find out that these big sandworm things are breaking into the base and messing stuff up and are, attacking Tom and stuff. But it's kind of a weird turn where they realize that the sandworms aren't trying to attack them. They're trying to warn them that the planet that they're on is slowly imploding on itself. And then they kind of come to realize that, hey, this little bunker that you've been camping out in for the last year is actually a giant ancient spaceship that's just buried in the ground.
Yeah, that was kind of odd.
Yeah, and they call it the Vindication. And then, for reasons that I still don't fully understand, Sarah gets turned into like this like holographic pixie character that can just, instead of being on the screen, can now float around.
A space fairy?
I guess. Even Tom questions why that works.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, you're a space fairy now, so you can move around, but you can't leave the ship.
Pretty much. Yeah, so they fight off the sandworms, and then Sarah goes down to talk to him because she can move around now. She's the one that finds out that, hey, the planet's imploding, and the worms were just trying to warn you, and they kind of make a deal with the worms that, like, hey, if you take our baby with you, that'd be cool. So they end up unearthing the giant spaceship, and they take the worm with them into space. So now they're broadcasting Toonami back in space again, and now there's, Tom and his pixie girlfriend, sister, computer helper. I don't know what their relationship is, to be honest. And their pet worm thing.
I was gonna ask if that fucking worm is part of them. If it's still part of the team.
I think so, because I think I watched a bumper recently, and he's sitting on Tom's lap or something, so they basically have a pet now. Which is kind of cool, because it's always been weird when they add more characters to the whole Tom and Sarah crew. They did that with Tom 4, where Tom had like sidekicks or something who were equally horrendously designed. But I think I the Intruder 3 seemed kind of less big in scale compared to the last two, because it's not like this big fight with this, entity. It's just like fighting these monsters, and then, hey, this planet explodes, so we gotta move into space again.
There was no tension. That's how I felt.
Yeah, I guess that's true. It's kind of true. I definitely felt less tension in this one. It kind of just felt like this would be the beginning of an episode if there was like a Toonami actual cartoon.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of surprised they haven't like tried to do that yet.
Give it time.
Give it time, maybe. Yeah, so Intruder 3 I think was kind of a smaller production, but I think it worked to transition into the new stage of what they wanted it to be, the new look and such.
It was a smaller production, but it looked best out of all of them.
Yeah, that's definitely what I want to say, is that every time they do one of these events and they get to flesh out the lore of the Toonami world, I guess, the animation looks better and better every time, and this one blows the other two out of the water. Yeah, it looks great. Their CG team really puts a lot. It definitely shows that the CG team puts a lot of effort into these, especially. I mean, the bumpers look really nice these days too. But once they get to put some story into the characters, I think it comes together pretty nicely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I think I heard that they're planning another event. I don't know if it's like an Intruder 4 or whatever, but I think Toonami's gotten back to its level of popularity where I think the network feels they can do more. So it kind of speaks to me, since they've done Intruder events these last 2 years, that maybe like they're gonna do a story event like once a year now. And honestly, I'd be down with that. That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be cool. Do a fucking Toonami Heroes and just have like all the Toms meet each other.
That would be kind of cool, actually. I'd be down for that. I mean, 2 of them are canonically dead.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to Tom 2 or 3. I don't know if they ever said. Maybe in a comic book.
I read Tom 2 died. He was like ripped to pieces or some shit. It was on the Wikipedia page from what I saw.
Weird.
And then
they're all gonna come back as zombies.
Yeah, and then they were like, here's what Tom 3 looks like. It was weird. I don't fucking know. Like, is there a place that holds the comic book still? It's kind of interesting.
I'm sure they're online somewhere. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of been nice, getting back into this. Cause I don't know. The last year or two, I've been really getting back into stuff that I was into as a childhood. Like, I've been, collecting N64 stuff, or I've been, I got into Legos for a little bit. And, Toonami was one of those things where it was, I'd fairly say that it was a big part of, my childhood. It was something I watched every day after school. And I got into it, and, that's kind of why I watched anime as a kid, and probably attributed to my weeb phase. Just thankfully over. Has been for a long time.
I don't know, man. You still like Digimon and stuff.
I do. Hey, Toonami, put Digimon Tri on there. Get the rights to that. That'd be a cool, mini-series event for you. Maybe they'll wait till it's all over and then put it on.
Maybe.
I don't know. Digimon was never on Toonami. It was always Pokemon.
Nope, it was a Fox Kids thingy.
It sure was, and then it moved to UPN, and then ABC Family.
Weird.
And then I think it's owned by Disney now, actually.
What the fuck?
I don't know. The rights keep getting jumbled around every couple of years.
Do they own Bandai Namco?
I don't. Disney doesn't own Namco. No.
They just have a, I don't fucking know, licensing.
Oh. They licensed whatever the last series of Digimon was, but.
Oh, that was just because it was on XD.
Yeah.
That don't mean a thing.
Well, I think Pokemon Sun and Moon, when it's dubbed, it's going to be on XD now.
Whoa, that's weird.
I know, right?
I thought it was already dubbed.
I know the first couple episodes are. Yeah, it's going to be weird having Pokemon on Disney, because it was always on Cartoon Network, and hell, Toonami played it sometimes.
Man, if Disney got Nintendo license, that would be so good. But it seems like Universal got it. I was reading that I know this is way off topic, but I was reading that Universal's gonna do the whole fucking lands and stuff, and then I read that Sony wants to make movies, which is weird.
It would be weird if Sony was who got the Nintendo movie rights.
Yeah. That's what I read, though.
It's weird.
Product placements in Nintendo movies. Hey, look at this Sony Vaio, Luigi.
Yeah, that was weird. Oh yeah, weird, because we were talking about Pokemon a minute ago. When I was researching like old Toonami stuff, and I was telling you this before the show, I completely forgot that there was a Kids WB block for Toonami for a while.
Oh yeah. You brought that up, and I was like, you dirty fucking liar.
No, it's there's video evidence of it. And when I was looking back on it, and when I was reading on it, I guess it didn't do well, mostly because it was repackaging existing Kids WB shows. Like, they would just show Batman Beyond and Pokemon and Jackie Chan Adventures just with the Toonami interstitials. So it seemed kind of pointless.
That's
but
weird.
But I was reading, someone was saying about that, and I haven't double checked to see if this is actually true, but it sounds like it is. Like when the Toonami block on Kids WB would start in the afternoons every day, or whenever it was on, the spaceship would go through a wormhole to go to Kids WB, and at the end of the block it would go through another wormhole. And I guess if you switched over to Cartoon Network right after that, it would be coming through the wormhole back to Cartoon Network, which I think that's hilarious.
That's a lot of planning. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, both Kids WB and Cartoon Network are owned by Time Warner, so I mean, I guess that works for them.
True.
But I don't know. I've really been enjoying revisiting Toonami and kind of getting that nostalgic feel and seeing where it's where it's come nowadays, and I think it's kind of in a really good place. They've got a lot of shows I don't watch personally, but I think they've got a lot of good shows on there. I mean, they just brought Samurai Jack back.
From the
did
past.
a show on that last week.
Yes.
Yeah, they got Samurai Jack. They've got 2 versions of Dragon Ball on there right now.
I read they're getting rid of One Piece, from what I've read.
They got rid of it last week, and they replaced it with some show I've never heard of.
Was it Attack on Titan or something dumb? Like
no,
that?
they had Attack on Titan a while back. I'm sure once the new
Tokyo
season starts
Ghoul.
up.
Quincy's into Tokyo Ghoul. That's
Oh.
what they replaced it with.
I've literally never heard of that.
It's like, I don't know shit about it, but the main character looks like BDSM. So it got like
Weird.
a leather mask on, and I don't know.
Gross.
Quincy likes it, so he also
Well,
likes
let's
One
see.
Piece.
I started watching One Piece the other day, and I'm like 20 episodes in now, and I'm like, this is bad. It's pretty standard, boys anime.
I'd watch it if there wasn't like 800 episodes.
Oh god, it's still going.
Yeah.
I looked it up. It's been going since like 99.
Yeah, I would.
It's still
I would be
going.
into it. And that's the thing. It's like with Pokemon, it's just a stupid little anime to be like, hey, here's an episode focusing on this one Pokemon, so maybe you might want him in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's shit like that. But with One Piece, it's a fucking full story. With Pokemon, you could watch a few episodes and then tune out. But with that one, you're gonna have to follow the whole fucking thing.
We've been watching Sun and Moon, the Japanese version, because the dub isn't out yet. And we started watching Sun and Moon, and I haven't watched Pokemon since midway through Johto, and I didn't feel lost at all. Like there's no real continuity for that show.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Toonami's got Dragon Ball's on there. They've got JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on there. They've still got Naruto on there. So they've got a lot of the big hitters, and then they've got a lot of smaller stuff on there too. They've got a new version of Gundam on there too, I think. So they've got a lot of new stuff. They got a lot of old staples on there. So I think there's a good mix for old and new fans. And honestly, I think what they've been doing for the last couple of years since they came back, I think it's really working. I know their time slot keeps changing. I think they started at 6 hours and they dropped to 3, and I think they're at 4.5 right now. So, I would love if Toonami just had the full night instead of having to be preluded with Family Guy. But what are you gonna do?
You need to remember that time when I don't know.
Did you just kind of forget the joke halfway through?
I didn't want to make a joke because that's below me. That's beneath me to make a Family Guy joke.
Oh, you remember that? Okay, I get where you're going. But yeah. So, congratulations, Toonami, for making 20 years. Even if you had that little hiatus there for a couple years, it's all good now. Back where you belong. Probably where you should have belonged, to be honest.
I mean, I've been alive for 20 or some odd years, and I've never been canceled, so.
You can't cancel a person.
Oh.
Well, I guess you can. It's called death.
That too. Or natural selection, whatever.
That's permanent cancellation. There's no revival from that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you're a Toonami fan, let us know in the comments if you've watched these events and like what you thought of them. Or what your memories of Toonami as a child were. And if you want to, support Toonami and have cable, unlike I do, it's on Saturdays at 11 on Cartoon Network, and they've got new episodes of Samurai Jack, and that's pretty rad. Melanie's kind of creaming her pants about that.
Yeah, I watched the new episode, and you haven't.
I was busy all weekend.
What kind of fan are you? Not a good one.
A fan who has wedding priorities.
Oh, shit.
Alright, well, I think that just about does it for us this week. Come back next week, or I don't know what we're doing. We'll figure it out. But I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and I guess until next time, we'll catch you later.
Or not. I don't know. We might be canceled by then.
Oh no!